Hey guys, Karen for Daredevil Season 2, Episode 3, New York's Finest. Now, I was definitely looking forward to this episode. The way the season's been so far has been amazing, and this episode was by far the best of the three. I mean, the first two episodes were setup. That's what they were. The first episode was setting up who the Punisher was and everything. The second episode was the aftermath of that, seeing Daredevil, seeing Matt heal from what the Punisher did to him and how he deals with that. And then this episode, we finally get to see confrontation between Daredevil and Punisher, which was what most of this episode was, and if it wasn't that, it was still amazing. By far best one so far, but I heard episode 4 is like the best episode of the entire show, so I'm not going to say it's best episode of the season, because I heard episode 4 is amazing. But let's just get into this episode, because it's only getting better as it goes on, and I can already tell how this season is going to be better than the first season, definitely. So let's just get into it. We see Matt dreams of a nun waking him up as a child, telling him to rest. He realizes that he's crucified, and she wrings blood out of the water as she's wiping his forehead with, and he then wakes up and realizes that he's chained to a chimney on the rooftop. Punisher is sitting nearby drinking coffee. Now we knew this was coming up. We know, of course, the first promotional shot we saw of Daredevil was him on the rooftop, chained up. I mean, we knew that we were going to get to this, and most of the episode is like this. It's really crazy, but then we see Reyes examines the aftermath of the failed Punisher ambush, and she tells Blake to keep the press away, and Foggy and Karen come over to complain. Karen points out that Grotto fled and complains that Reyes used Grotto for base, and the DA warns her that Murdoch and Nelson is small time and way out of their league, and threatens to sell the story that their incompetence threatened Grotto's life. She advised the firm to stay away from the case and drives away. So she, of course, doesn't want them there. But Karen complains that Foggy didn't back her, and Foggy warns they have to play it Ray's way for now, because if they don't, obviously, it's going to end up really bad for them. So they pretty much have to play things her way. They really have no other choice. And he offers to call Matt, and Karen goes, now, of course, they still don't know where Matt is. They just know that he's, MIA right now. So Karen goes back to the office to try to find a legal way out of the mess that they're in, because she really doesn't know what they're going to be able to do. I mean, they want to get involved, but Reyes is telling them they shouldn't. So they really don't know how they're going to handle this. So Daredevil tries to break free. Punisher warns that it don't do any good. It don't any good as he stitches up his bullet wound. And when the hero wonders why Punisher didn't remove his mask, Punisher says that he doesn't care who he is and says that he'll do what is required. He doesn't really care. He's going to do what he feels is right. And I loved this rooftop conversation. Most of this episode is this rooftop conversation, and it's just so interesting to see because, of course, we really see in this episode that Matt and Frank are very similar people. It's just they have very different ways of handling things. The way that Matt will handle something is very different than the way that Frank will handle something, and we really do see that here. But we'll get into that. Foggy then goes to the ER, leaves a message for Matt to call him. The police are dealing with the aftermath of a gang fight, and he tracks down Claire, which we knew Claire would come back into the picture. My only complaint with Claire is that there's no mention of her encounter with Jessica Jones, because of course, we know that's got to connect at some point. We know that Matt and Jessica they're going to meet up at some point, and there's really no, there's no her saying, oh, I met this girl or anything. There's nothing about that. She reminds her that they have a mutual friend, and Claire is less than thrilled to see him because she doesn't really want anything to do with him. The last time, of course, it didn't turn out so well, and she doesn't really want to help him right now, which I thought was interesting. So then at the law office, Karen's going over Rey's background when Grotto calls, and I like seeing Karen have to do this on her own. It's something we haven't really seen before. Like, of course, we saw Karen deal with that whole thing last year, but this is different. She has to deal with the case on her own without Foggy or Matt backing her up, and it's interesting to see. So she insists they didn't know about Rey's setup and says that he has to come in. Grotto figures that Punisher was shooting at him and won't stop, and he's done making deals. He has his own plan to get out while he's still breathing, tells them to go to hell, and hangs up. So he's really doesn't want anything to do with them at this point. So Frank prepares for another of his missions. Matt asks how long he's been doing his job, and he tells Punisher could just walk away, and Punisher asks if he could do it. Daredevil can't answer him and asks if Punisher is a Catholic, and Punisher finally tells him to stop digging. Stop trying to get answers, because I'm not giving them to you. But Daredevil figures that he was a soldier, and his captor tells him not to talk about war if he's never been to it, and Daredevil says that he knows it can be hard, and it's a very good reveal, because we see that he personally wasn't in the war, but it's clear that Frank was, and Basically, Punisher says that Daredevil can take off his mask and go home, but soldiers don't have that privilege. They can't just leave. I mean, they have to stay. No matter what happens, they have to stay. While Daredevil, he can just unmask himself and no one will know that he's the one responsible. Soldiers, though, that kind of stuff stays with them, and it really provides this, I think, really good emotional insight for what the Punisher is going through. I mean, we can understand why he has to punish people and why he does what he does. I mean, it's really interesting. So Daredevil wonders why he's there. Punisher tells him that when he doesn't do work, when he doesn't work what he does out of necessity. That's why. He does it because he feels that this person needs to go. And Punisher says they all deal with loss in a different way, and that's how he deals with loss. And Daredevil insists that he doesn't hurt anyone. People don't have to die. Irritated, Punisher tells Daredevil that he's just one bad day from being him, and that's really who he's becoming. And that really is true if you really think about it. Daredevil is kind of just a more moral version of who the Punisher really is, which is very interesting. So Daredevil hears someone coming. Punisher tells him to keep quiet or he'll kill the man. And an old man, Jerry, comes out and Punisher confronts him. And then basically we see something going on there. So now we don't know who this man Jerry is. We know he has a connection to Frank, and it's very interesting to see what's going on there. So as she tends to the wounded, Claire tells Foggy that it's not a good time. She says she hasn't seen Matt and he hasn't been there and isn't interested in helping him again because he kind of just bailed. He left her and she hasn't seen him in so long. And she doesn't really want to help someone that she hasn't seen in a while because he kind of just bailed on her, and I can understand that. And basically, Claire says the victims love Daredevil, but victimizers want him dead. And you can really start to tell that I think Claire really isn't a fan of Daredevil. Like, she really doesn't like him. She thinks that he, that she doesn't really like him, and all these criminals, they're coming out because Daredevil is there, and they're thinking that if Daredevil can be around, then they can be around. That's kind of why Punisher's there, and it's very interesting. It's kind of, and a lot of people compared it to Batman and Joker, which is very true. Batman opened up the world to more criminals, and that really is what's going on with Daredevil. So Foggy keeps following her around. Foggy tells her to help her by spraying water on a wound, and as they work, Claire says that the city needs Daredevil, but she got into trouble helping another hero type, and now she's just trying to keep her head down and stay sane, and she figures that Matt is good at staying alive, but Foggy admits that he isn't so sure about that anymore, and he explains that Matt is after Punisher and begs Claire to help him. The police bring in another injured gang member, and one of his rivals goes berserk, ripping off the railing he's handcuffed to, and attacks the newcomer. So that was really crazy. Then Jerry asks who Punisher is, and Punisher gives his real name, Frank. He claims that he's up on the roof to take a smoke and get a break from his crazy sister, and of course that's not what's going on. He has to lie to this man, and Daredevil tries to break free. Jerry hears him. Punisher passes it off as a rat, secretly drawing his gun, drawing back the hammer, and he talks about his post-war experience, and Jerry confirms that he was a Marine, and he welcomes Punisher home, tells him to smoke as much as he likes, and Punisher calls out Semper Fi to the man. So it's clear that this is something that's really haunted him. Like, he has been through the war, and it's really affecting him. The way that Jon Bernthal does this performance, you don't really see him as a bad guy here. Like, you can understand his situation. I think they did a very good job with that, and I really like that. So definitely really good the way that was handled. And Punisher then goes back to Daredevil, who asks if Frank is his real name because he doesn't know. He knows that Frank wasn't telling the truth. So he's wondering, is that really your name? Is that just, something that you said to him so you could, look innocent? And Punisher says that he only pulled back the hammer to impress Daredevil. That's the only reason. And insists that he's not a bad guy. And Daredevil points out all the men he killed. Punisher insists that everyone he killed deserved it. And in many ways, that's true. Like that pawn shop owner, he killed him because he felt he deserved it. He had child pornography. He had many reasons to do it. And, in hindsight, again, he's not really doing anything wrong. And I like the way that Punisher's trying to say that, I'm not doing anything wrong here. I think that what I'm doing is completely justified. It's just that Matt has a very different way of looking at things. And he points out that Daredevil just throws the bad guys in jail, and then they're out a month later, which is true. That's what's going on with Wilson. While Wilson's in jail now, we don't know if maybe he's operating things on his own, or if he's doing something from inside the jail, or if he's even going to break out. I mean, there's a point where he could break out at any point. That's the thing I love, is that Wilson could come back at any time he wanted to, and he puts them in the morgue, and Daredevil says that even the worst bad guy might have some flicker of goodness, and Punisher snuffs it out. Punisher says the world needs man who can make the hard call, and he and Daredevil are the same. And even though he doesn't see it that way, they really are the same. He takes pride in the fact his targets don't go back out in the world, and Punisher does pretty much the same thing. So Daredevil insists that there is hope and there's redemption. The people that Punisher kills deserve another chance. And he tells Punisher if he can't see that, then he's a nutjob and he'll never stop coming after him because he's insane. So Punisher then punches him unconscious, realizing he's not getting through to him, and You can tell that Matt, even though Punisher's trying to justify what he's doing, he really just sees him as this crazy guy that he really doesn't understand the bad things that he's doing. Because it's clear that Punisher doesn't see himself as a bad guy, and it's very interesting to see. So Blake is working in his office when Karen visits him, and he advises her to forget about Grotto, that they'll take care of him, and that Grotto fled, and that he's not their problem right now. And Karen tells him that Reyes let an ADA take the fall after she mishandled an informant, and there have been others, and basically trying to tell him that Reyes is not on the same side as you, even though you think that she's not. And Karen points out that Reyes has left a trail of ADAs who have lost their jobs. She asks Blake to protect the firm and what he has on Punisher, and Blake admits that Reyes is a piece of work, but warns Karen not to come back again, threatens to call security if she doesn't leave after handing her the Punisher file. And I can understand what Blake is doing. He's just trying to do his job. He's not trying to be a dick or anything, but he is really just trying to do his job, and he doesn't want them to get involved because he feels that they're keeping him from doing his job, and I can totally understand that. But I do like the way this is being handled. Blake is listening to her, but again, like I said, he's just doing his job. So in the ER, two gangers argue, and one of them grabs a scalpel. The other one grabs a pair of scissors, and Claire yells at them that there are innocent people there. They ignore her, and Foggy asks if they know what happens if they get charged with assault. He explains that he's the pre-Bono loyal that they're turned to when they end up in jail, and that they don't want to do something bad in front of him, because he'll just put them in jail. And Foggy tells him that if they carve each other up in front of witnesses, they'll both end up in prison. He tells him not to fight and let the nurses do their jobs. And I like the way this was done. You really do see, again, how powerful Foggy is, and I really do feel like they're trying to show that. So after a moment, both gangers drop their weapons, and Claire stares at Foggy in surprise, realizing that he's a lot more powerful. And when you look at Foggy, he doesn't seem like the most powerful guy. He seems like a guy that'll just crack a joke and not really take his job seriously, but you can tell that he really takes what he does seriously, which of course we've known, but Claire did, and Claire just thought that this was someone that was with Matt, and she's realizing how, reliable Foggy can really be in this kind of situation. He was able to break up a fight, which is crazy the way that he was able to do that, but the way that was done, I loved, and obviously Claire is shocked. So Daredevil wakes up, realizes the Punisher's taped a gun to his hand, and Punisher explains there's one round in the chamber, and the only way Daredevil can stop him is with a headshot, and Daredevil says that he won't shoot. Punisher drags out Grotto, says that he caught him trying to leave town. Grotto says that he just poured drinks and drove cars, and Punisher beats Grotto until he missed it. He shot a man on mob orders, and had to shoot an old lady who saw him first, and I love that we finally saw a confrontation between Punisher and Grotto, because we knew Grotto was working for Punisher, but he hasn't done what Punishers want to do, and basically, he admits he shot a man on mob orders and had to shoot an old lady who saw him first, and Daredevil refuses to shoot Grotto. He's not just going to kill him because he feels that he's innocent, didn't do anything wrong, and Punisher says that he will if Daredevil doesn't kill him first. He's just going to kill him because we know that Matt won't kill. That's the thing. Matt's whole thing is that he will not kill, and Punisher will. That's just the big thing with him. So he doesn't want to kill this man, and he's not going to, defy his morals just because Punisher's telling him to. So Claire checks the hospital records for the city and confirms that Matt hasn't shown up in an ER or a morgue, and she assures Foggy that Matt will be fine and wishes things could be different between her and Matt. She really, wants things to be different, but they're not. And right now, Claire doesn't need complications in her life, but figures that the city needs Daredevil and Matt needs Foggy. That's just how it is. And that she doesn't need him. Even though, she cares about him and things like that, she really doesn't need him in her life right now, which I kind of do agree. I mean, I think she's kind of good on her own. She really doesn't need Matt with her right now. So Punisher insists that Grotto will kill again. Daredevil needs to understand that thugs like Grotto ruin people's lives, and that if they don't kill him, he's gonna make things worse. And I like seeing this, that Grotto's worse than Punisher. I mean, we thought that Grotto was kind of being manipulated by him, but to Punisher, Grotto is this criminal that needs to die, and he counts down from 5, telling Daredevil to take the shot. Daredevil shoots through his chains, lunges at Punisher, who shoots Grotto in the chest before he goes down. Once he takes Punisher down, Daredevil punches him unconscious, then picks up Grotto. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of this rooftop fight, and I heard about it too, but this was so cool the way this was done. I mean, this action was so well handled. He picks up Grotto. Grotto tells him to put him down while Punisher grabs his sniper rifle, aims at a line of motorcycles in front of a bar, and this is a really good scene the way this was done, because these really are two men that are very similar but are on different sides of the law. Daredevil is fighting for the people while Punisher's fighting against them. He doesn't care if people like him or not. What he does care about is putting them to justice and making sure that they never do something something wrong again. For example, if Punisher was to go out with Wilson Fisk, he would have just killed him. He would not have brought him to jail. Daredevil, however, did bring him to jail, and that's why Punisher is the way he is. And the way that this is being handled is really great, because Punisher really isn't doing anything wrong. He's killing people that he feels need to die, while Daredevil just doesn't kill. That's why Punisher is so much more dangerous, because he will kill if he has to, while Daredevil won't. And I think they really showed that contrast very well here. And I've really been trying to figure out what is Punisher really doing, and you see that he's not really a bad guy. He doesn't want to kill Daredevil. What he does want to do is show him you and I are very similar, and we need to team up and work together. But it's clear that Matt is not interested in that, because again, Punisher defies his moral code, and he's going to stick by that. So Grotto asks why Daredevil didn't stop Punisher, and then dies, and Daredevil swings the chain still fastened to his wrist, pulls the rifle just as Punisher takes the shot. The shot hits a bike's gas tank and sets it off. The dogs of hell grab weapons and run out, and meanwhile Daredevil and Punisher beat each other. Punisher finally knocks his opponent into the rooftop, realizing that he can't really beat him. Like, Punisher is always going to be, stronger than him and powerful than him, because he will kill while Matt wouldn't, and he understands what he's going through. So at the office, Karen examines the photos of Punisher's victims, because obviously they all need to have something in common. There has to be a reason. She needs to know what Punisher does, things like that. And as the dogs of hell come out, Punisher prepares to open fire. The bikers spawn, run for the building while Daredevil recovers, disarms Punisher. They hear the bikers coming up the stairs. Punisher says they're coming for them. Daredevil knocks him unconscious, and he's just done with them. He doesn't want to hear what he has to say, because Daredevil's just, Punisher's making him upset, and I like that Daredevil was able to knock him unconscious. It does show that he can fight him. Karen goes over the photos of Punisher's victims and takes notes. Daredevil carries the unconscious Punisher to the freight elevator just as the bikers arrive. Jerry comes out. Daredevil grabs one of the bikers, holds the gun to his head. He tells Jerry to get inside and says that he's good. Knocks the biker out. Daredevil pulls the trigger on the other bikers, discovers that it's unloaded. He takes on the bikers, knocks them out, knocking out the lights. He goes with the chain. Daredevil then fights his way down the stairwell, leaving a trail of unconscious bikers in his path, and he's realizing that it's really not just a fight against him and Punisher, but a fight against Punisher and all these other people that are on his side. He has to fight all these dogs of hell, and it's crazy to see the way this is going on. And the hero finally gets to the ground floor, finds 2 more bikers waiting for him. Furious, he takes them on, but a third one arrives and they overwhelm him. As they beat him, Daredevil knocks 2 of them out, but the third one grabs him, and the way this was done was just crazy, because you don't know if he's going to get past all these bikers, if they're going to knock him out. Really, anything can happen here. But you see that he's in just such a rage, because he finally is a man that challenges him. And yes, Wilson did, but Wilson was doing good for the town, while Punisher does good for the town as well, but he kills, and he will kill if he has to. And that's the thing that challenges Daredevil, and that's the maddening thing about him, because what Punisher is saying, he's really legit when saying you and I are very similar. It's just Matt is very stubborn and doesn't want to listen, and that's something I like about Matt, is that it has nothing to do with the fact that, oh, I'm not going to kill. It's not about that. It's the fact that Punisher is challenging him to do something he doesn't want to do, and that angers him, and I love that he's taking his anger out here. So the freight elevator arrives. Punisher watches as Daredevil takes them down, and by the time Daredevil turns the elevator, Punisher is gone. He realizes he's not getting through him. He realizes that Matt's probably going to just beat him up, and he doesn't want him to do that, obviously. He really wants to team up with him, but you can tell that Punisher realizes that he's not going to get through to him. If he's not going to get through, he's just going to leave, and I don't blame him for doing that. It made sense why he had to leave. So, really crazy stuff there. Love the way that played out, though. Amazing stuff overall. And that whole rooftop conversation, honestly, which I was just so riveted throughout that entire thing, the way that was done. I love the way they handled that. Amazing stuff there. And then the ending of this episode, Karen checks a hospital file containing an x-ray of a man's skull with a bullet wound. We are to assume that this man was killed by the Punisher, and that's how the episode ends. So amazing stuff overall, guys. I love this entire episode, the way this was done. The contrast between Punisher and Daredevil, I just love, because really, when you look at it, they are the same person. They just have very different ways of doing things, and the way that they handle that is perfect. And I think Punisher is realizing he's not going to get through the Daredevil, and Daredevil's just going to go after him. He's going to do whatever he can to bring him to justice, but he's not going to kill, because he doesn't do that. And I think the thing with Punisher is that he knows he's safe, because Daredevil in the end is not going to kill him. He'll put him in jail, but that's not going to do anything. He'll just kill the people in jail, break out of it. Punisher is above the law. He really is, and that's what he wants to be. He wants to be a man above the law, and He's not getting through the mat clearly, and it's very interesting to see the way that's playing out. I love the way they're handling that. Very interesting overall. But let's talk about Blake, because Karen is on the right side of things when she's saying, look, you should have us help you. We can really help with what's going on and things like that. So is Blake going to listen to Claire? I mean, not Claire, Karen. Is he going to listen to Karen and what she's saying? We'll have to see what's going on with that. That's definitely going to be interesting. I like seeing Claire again. I like seeing Claire say she really wants nothing to do with Matt. She doesn't need him in her life right now. But I don't think this is going to be the only time we see Claire this season, because Claire is a main character. She's billed as a main character. She wasn't last season. She was a recurring character, but this season she is a main character, and I can't wait to see what happens with that. If Claire is going to end up in Matt's life again, how that's going to play out, that definitely is going to be really cool, and I can't wait to see what happens with that. Foggy is really showing that he can work alone and that he doesn't need Matt. Like, he really can do this on his own. He really cares about his job, and when someone does something that irritates him, he will yell at them. And maybe he won't beat them up or take them out or anything, but he will sit them down and very sternly talk to them, which is, I think, just as intimidating as doing what Matt does, beating them up. Definitely, I think that's just as intimidating. So, very interesting the way that's going, and I like that they're showing Foggy capable of doing his own thing. Definitely, I like the way that that's playing out. Definitely really cool. And Grotto being killed is also really crazy. I think Matt is realizing just how dangerous the Dogs of Hell really is. I mean, you defy Punisher, you defy everyone else that's allying with him. All these Dogs of Hell, they're with Punisher, and they can go after Matt, and they'll fight dirty, and Matt's gonna have to realize that he might have to kill him. He might have to kill Punisher in order for him to survive, because he's not gonna get through to him. I mean, whatever happens, he's not going to be able to get away from Punisher. Punisher's going to keep trying to get him on his side and try to bring him in and things like that, and I think Matt's realizing that he needs to kill Punisher. That's just how it's going to go. It's going to be very interesting to see how that's going on. I love the way that that's playing out. Very interested in seeing what happens between Matt and Punisher, and the way they're developing that relationship is just so interesting. I love the way that's playing out. This really does feel like the first part to a much bigger episode. Like I said, I heard episode 4 is amazing. I can't wait to see what happens in that 4th episode. I heard is an incredible stuff that happens there. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Absolutely love this episode. By far the best of the 3. Like I said, really good stuff. Also, what's going on with Karen? Where are these files? You know, who are these people that Punisher killed? Who has he killed? Where are the connections? Things like that. What's she going to do with that? It really seems like Karen's doing this on her own. Like, Foggy was trying to get someone to help Matt, and Karen's kind of just trying to figure out things on her own, because Foggy's not really backing her up, because Foggy's realizing they can't really go against what Reyes is saying, because Reyes is so powerful, they can't really defy her. That's just kind of how it is, and Foggy's understanding that. But overall, guys, I'm really loving this season. I know a lot of people are saying this season is very underwritten, or it's too fast-paced, or what have you, but I think they're really doing this very well. This was a very subtle episode. Like, we already know things that's going on with Punisher. We don't know as much as we should, but I think we found out a lot about him in this episode. You know, how he was a war veteran, and how that really affects him, and how he kills who he thinks need to die. It's a very interesting direction to take this character, and I can't wait to see what happens with that. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for The Walking Dead, for tonight's episode of The Walking Dead, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.